we all play this wonderful game called Star Citizen. We all have different opinions and different thoughts on the development. So we're going to watch Game Development by Timothy Kane. Once again, this is Game Development by Timothy Kane. Let's see what this is all about.
Hi everyone, it's me, Tim.
Hello.
Today I'm going to talk about something that, for lack of a better phrase, I'm going to call game development caution. Before I start, I'm going to tell you 3 different stories. They're a little different, but then I'll tell you what I'm thinking about.
I increased the volume a bit.
Back when we made Fallout, towards the end, when we were really trying to get it out, we had 2 whiteboards.
Oh, and this guy, if anybody does not know, this is the, I think he's the creator of Fallout, and I'm pretty sure he did Fallout 1 and 2. So I cut him off right when he was about to say, but they put up whiteboards and the anxiety.
One whiteboard had a list of features or content that weren't done yet that really needed to get in.
Okay.
And the other whiteboard had a list of what the 10 most egregious bugs were. And next to each one of these, on these 2 different whiteboards, were listed the person who was assigned to it. We did it in a whiteboard like this so that people could come in the morning and look at it, because this predated Jira or Confluence or anything like that. They could come in, look at the whiteboard, and go, oh, I see something I need to jump on.
Okay, so I like what he's talking about. Now, obviously, like he said, this was pre like a lot of the task assignment programs and, email. Well, I'm sure email existed back then, but not quite to the level that it does now. But you put up on a whiteboard features that need to get into the game immediately and what we need to work on, top 10 worst bugs, and assigned people to them. So I like this already. I like this a lot already.
Worked fine. I don't think I heard any complaint about it. People liked getting stuff off of that. If they saw something, I was like, I'm on that today. Tried doing the exact same thing 10 years later at Carbine. Overwhelmingly, people said, no, do not do that. I will quit if you do that.
What?
If I see my name on that whiteboard, I will quit.
What?
And I said, well, what if we don't put people's names next to it? I'll still quit. People will know it's me.
What? Wait a second. Wait a second. This is coming off as like, I don't want to do my job. See, so I've worked various retail stores, and you get assigned a department. Like, let's say I was assigned to sporting goods, right? And let's say a lady walked across the store and said, hey, I need help in grocery. You're the first employee I found. It was my job, and was laid out in the handbook, to walk across the store and help her find what she needed. If a manager came up to me and said, hey, I need you to run returns from up front. Oh, you mean the ones for sporting goods? I already did those. No. Scard, we need you to help out, across the store. We need you to run the returns for other parts of the store. I wasn't allowed to say, well, it's not in my department. I'm not doing that. You work there. You do the job that's asked of you. Or it's not going to be, I quit. It's, you're fired. So I don't know. I don't know if this is a sign of the times. I don't know if this is because, as Vish said, don't put pressure on me because I'm assigned to a bug, and we know how everybody hates bugs. I get it. We all play Star Citizen. The game is riddled with bugs. We all hate bugs. We don't want to play with the bugs, but at the same time, somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to have the job of taking care of those bugs. I would like to be that guy. I'm not in game development, but I would like to be that guy that was like, yeah, I fixed the inventory bug. thank you, and you're welcome. Now, I wouldn't be like that, but I'd say thank you because, cool. I fixed the inventory bug, or the audio issue where you keep hearing quantum over and over and over again. I'd like to be that guy that got on Spectrum and be like, yeah, I'm the dude that fixed the audio bug. Is there any other audio bugs that you guys are coming across? Things like that. I would love to do that sort of thing because I think squashing bugs is a lot like helping people out because they want to play your game and they're having a hard time because name a bug, and I get to be that guy that helps you out to play the game because I killed that bug. So I don't know. That's how I think.
Story 2. When we were making the Outer Worlds, I wanted to put in, this is probably end of year 2, so we're still a year away. The combat AI wasn't really in yet, so I asked for a very simple combat aggression code to be added. This is how simple it was. Every time an NPC got shot, they would see if that person was on the list of someone who'd shot them. If they weren't, they'd add them to the list, with the amount of damage they just took. If they were already on the list, they'd just add the amount of damage they took.
Sounds
Whenever they're deciding
enough.
Who to attack, they attack the person at the top of the list. That's it. That's all I wanted.
Okay, so that's like if for any of you guys that play turn-based games, it sounds like an initiative type setup. They do damage. You're not on the list. It adds you to the list. If you've done damage previously versus your party, along with your party members, and now you've become the highest damage dealer, then you should be top priority. So I get that.
Keep in mind,
cool.
The advantage of that basic AI, you can make lots of changes later. You can make them that it has the one at the top of the list. If it's different than the person you're attacking, the damage has to exceed the damage of the person attacking you by a certain amount before you change targets. You can take distance into account. You can take whether you can reach them into account, whether you have a ranged weapon into account. All that comes later. That's all I wanted.
AI. Okay. So that's all he wanted at first.
It got put into the programmer production query queue and came back with an estimate of 4 weeks.
What?
I pushed back saying the code I asked for was very simple. I've written it before. Would take about 45 minutes. It's basically, there's already a callback when you get hit. That's when you look to put them on the list.
So this sounds like a very simple process. And Mason, don't think I'm like trying to argue with you or anything like that. I think it goes upon how people are raised and how people view themselves. Because my parents always told me it doesn't matter if you're making a penny or you're making $100 an hour. If you're doing a job, you do the job the first time, the right time, all the time, and you earn what's given to you, even if it's just a penny. But once again, I think that just goes to, it has to be a mindset.
And there's a callback. There's a call when you want to pick a target. That's
but I also agree with you, Mason.
You want to attack.
Management does suck.
The programmer who it got signed to came to me and said, I need 4 weeks. And I'm like, why? Walk me through what you're going to do. And he goes, you don't understand. And I was like, I've coded this 3 times. Walk me through it. And he wouldn't. He left. He left angry. Lead programmer came back, started.
Yeah, I know, Mason. I know, Mason.
Saying,
like I said, I wasn't coming
He needs 4 weeks. And I'm like, then I will do it. I'll have it done before lunch. And he said, no, because then people will have to support your code. I'm like, well, let me walk through. I'm going to walk you through.
So they're playing inner office politics, and they don't want him to do it because then they have an obligation to do it as quickly as he does it, and they don't want that. That's crazy. That's crazy. And management certainly does not have to suck. Like, management can definitely be on your side. Management is supposed to be there to support and create the next management team by training their employees, but people don't view it that way anymore. People view it as, I'm supposed to be this big mean boss and squash hopes and dreams whenever I get a chance. But that's not what management is supposed to do.
What I want. And you tell me why this takes 4 weeks. He looked at what I wrote, which was about 10 lines of pseudocode on a whiteboard, and he goes, I'll come back. He came back about an hour later and said, what about 2 weeks? And I said, do I have any options here?
Why is it going to take 2 weeks to write code? 10 lines of code.
Story 3. Leonard and I talk about features all the time, whether it's dialogues or system mechanics or story setting. We get very into it. Our voices may be raised. We're jumping out of our chairs to draw things on whiteboards. We're pacing back and forth. I know I've mentioned this before, but Anthony Davis showed up at our door and said, you guys have to stop yelling. Everybody's getting nervous. It's like mom and dad are yelling at each other. Still don't know who he meant was mom, but we explained that's just us talking. We're not mad, but we're trying to tease apart exactly what to do, and we're getting into it. So, what do those three stories have?
Oh my God. What's up, Adam?
I'm starting to see in the industry, I shouldn't say starting.
No, we've all been seeing it in every industry.
The last quarter of my career, I'm starting to see this rise of what I can only call development caution, an abundance of caution, of padding.
I wonder if
estimates,
caution means
time estimates.
We only want to do profit.
Wanting to go around and check with a lot of people to see if something's okay.
Probably,
asking,
Jim.
Should we do this? I'm not sure. Let's have a meeting. Frequently, people would want to have a meeting to discuss something, and those were the very people who would say, we have too many meetings. I can't get any work done. Now, caution can be a really good thing.
10-4, Adam. Thanks for stopping by. Any
if it leads to
any support is
less
good support.
bugs,
Appreciate
less stress. Also, I get the fact that because games cost more now.
Yes. I think it's a profit thing and not so much a caution.
People are approaching it with this sense of caution because you're not just going to be out a little bit of money. You're going to be out a lot of money if this game doesn't do well. The thing that worries me, though, is games can also be a lot worse because of caution. And everybody who's cautious kind of denies that. They're like, no, we're reducing bugs. We're increasing.
Look, everybody that's a Care Bear denies they're a Care Bear, too. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding.
Increasing life-work balance. People are less stressed. And I'm like, true, but you're also taking a lot less risk in a game, which in many games I think give them less charm.
Games should be creative risk.
Yeah, even games that have jank have a lot of charm. My games have had jank. I know people talk about jank in other games. You know, things where the AI acts in a bizarre way in certain circumstances, or NPCs say weird things or do weird things. It can be charming. But things have changed, and I know games have gone from being...
I mean, sometimes breaking games is good.
An expression of an idea, of like artwork from a particular person or group of people,
creation should be creative risk.
Money-seeking instrument. And I get it. There's a lot of money going into these. In a way, though, I would argue they always were. You always were making these.
Yeah.
With the idea that, you know, I hope it sells a lot and we make money. But now designs are being driven by this. It's why we have microtransactions. It's why we have pre-orders. It's why we have...
It's why EA
what we're starting
exists.
to see lately, where games are, if you pay a little more, you can play it a few days or even a week early. Now, you can't always blame the publishers or the developers for this. If people didn't pay for it, they wouldn't do it. It's like spam. If everybody stopped answering spam tomorrow, it would go away. But because a tiny percentage does, it's there for everybody to see. But so I'm not really talking about the money-driven part. I'm talking about how the caution is dampening down the ideas. It's why I want to double down on this. I've always thought the indie space is a lot richer in ideas. Probably not money, certainly not money, but they're much richer in ideas because they take less. They have less
more
caution.
risk.
They take a lot more risk.
Yeah, it's creative risk.
What I see then is AAAs that dip into indie games for features and ideas. By the way, it's not just publishers and developers that I see all this caution with. I've seen a huge rise in caution in game journalism. It's become...
Okay, so how I view this is not the best pause for him. How I view this is everybody is either A, creatively bankrupt, B, worried about the profits, or C, worried that, I guess this goes back to profits, but you know, that the risk isn't met by the reward. And we can't if we want to continue to innovate and create good games, we can't let those things hold us back. Um, games are a multi-billion-dollar industry now, and you're jockeying for position in a sea of games, which is unfortunately developed. I mean, which is it's unfortunately dominated by games like Call of Duty, the sports genre, the racing genre. I can't just say Call of Duty, but the first person experience in general. And most of the games just really go off of the same formula year after year after year after year. Not much changes, not much innovation. The only thing that really changes is what are this year's battle passes going to be? What are this year's microtransactions going to look like? And I, for one, am kind of getting tired of it. And I wish I would have followed this up with a video. I saw it a few days ago on my feed about how there's a big revolt against microtransactions, and companies are suffering because they're not making as much from the microtransactions anymore. Here's my thing. If you make a really, really, really good game, you don't have to put the microtransactions in. But that's my opinion. That's my thinking. I think if you make a solid game, people aren't going to put it. People don't need the microtransactions to feel fulfilled. Microtransactions to me are kind of like that quick dopamine hit, like, oh, I got that cool skin, or I got that pay to win weapon, or I got that cool armor, or I got this cool ship, or whatever it may be. But in a sea of games that are buggy, glitchy, half finished, gotta wait for a second DLC to come, or a DLC to come out for the game to be good, or you gotta wait for modding to come in. This is not how we should play games. This is not how we should play games. And it's not just in the video game industry where this is happening. It's happening in a lot of industries. Grumpy talked about how the mega producers slowly killed off music and stopped it from being creative and turned it into a process. And the same thing is, it's very visibly happening in the gaming industry, the movie industry. We said the music industry. It's happening in books. It's happening in comic books. It's happening in toys. It's happening in, I mean, for Christ's sake, look at the cars, man. Look at the cars we drive. It doesn't matter if you drive a Ford or a Chevy. Pick the SUV. They all have the same damn features. They all look the same. The only reason why you can tell them apart is you get up close, you're driving down the highway and you're like, oh, this car looks cool, or this SUV looks cool, and you can't tell what it is until you pull up to the bumper and you see the Chevrolet in the middle of it, and that's really the only thing you can tell the difference on. I mean, we've look, capitalism is a great thing, but at the same time, it can stagnate thinking when all your energy and resources and your ideas go to the profit. And yes, we should make money. I'm not saying people shouldn't make money. I'm just saying, let's get a little creative, people. Think outside of the box a little bit. What's like, what? Let's look at smartphones, for example. Just 1 second before I let him go again. What was the last major innovation in smartphones other than Wi-Fi connectivity and Bluetooth? Okay, because those were already technologies that existed to other things. The last big leap that we had was when we had the iPods, the ones that you could wear, or the ones that would fit in your pocket, and it had the touch screen on it. And then that idea blossomed into the smartphone with the first iPhone, and then eventually Samsung jumped on it. What's the next big innovation? It's been that way for going on 15 years now. Like, how do we make money? Make a new Apple phone. Call it Apple 16, put it in a new case, update the camera, but leave everything else the same. We don't innovate anymore, and I'd like to see more of that. But anyways, let me get off my soapbox. I dust it off and put it away in the corner here for a second.
The norm that no journalist wants to risk getting into an embargo situation where they're not given an early access code, so they can't write their reviews earlier than other people. they're worried about not being invited to
The same
press
thing goes with
events
YouTube
or,
reviewers.
you know, junkets, I think they're called. So a lot of them have gone a lot more cautious in what they say. I really miss the
What's up, Squirrel?
reviews. I'll name a couple, like Scorpia in the 80s and 90s and Deathlock in the 90s and early 2000s. Because those two people, those two reviewers, said what they thought. If you put out a game, they skewer you for all the things that were wrong.
See, and here's the thing. Like, I'm going to use Grumpy because to me he's been the sacrificial lamb to Star Citizen, and it pains me that has happened. You look, I'm not saying that you have to agree with everything that Grumpy says. I'm not saying you have to agree with anything that, like, say, Salty Mike says, or even let's take the hype train guy, you know, Board Gamer, or, you know, a lot of the times, well, until recently, Morphologist, or no, let's take Morphologist out of that. Let's add the other hype train guy, Ollie43. I'm not saying that of those four people, you need to choose a camp that you're either team negative Star Citizen or team positive Star Citizen. What I'm saying is, speak your damn mind. This guy is saying it. The developers appreciate that. We should be critical of them so that they continue to continue to innovate and continue to push technology forward and continue to push gaming forward instead of sitting there stagnant, counting their dollar bills. Because as I said, there was a time not too long ago when video games were creative and people that created video games viewed them as art. It is a creative risk. You putting a video game together and putting it out there for the masses to buy. It's as much of a creative risk as, say, making that album, you know, that a musician does, or making that book, or making that comic, or making that film. It's a creative risk, and you have to be willing to take it in all of these industries because, one, that's how you make money, and two, that's how we get great games. It's how we get great games. We got to take these creative risks, guys. And speak and back to what he was saying. Speak your mind. If a game, you don't like a game, don't just say it sucks. Say, hey, in this game, I didn't like the gunplay. I thought, what's up, Carl? What's up? Don't say the game sucks. Say the gunplay. I didn't like the gunplay because of WXYZ. I didn't like the sound design because A, B, and C. I didn't like the what's up, Skeet? I didn't like the level layout on this level because of, you know, D, E, F. You know, explain yourself. Don't just say, oh, this game sucks or this game's great. Well, why is the game great? Explain why. And that's what we need to do. And we need to do that to Star Citizen. We can't just sit here and be like, oh, the game sucks because it sucks. Or the game's a scam because it's a scam. Explain yourself. You know, I don't want to say facts, but give your talking points and your opinions and explain it in a way that other people can understand. Just don't be like, oh, my feelings, my thoughts, my feelings. Put it out there, guys. Put it out there. People like him, if we have people like him in other games, in other game developments, he wants to hear your negative opinion so he can improve the game.
Wrong with it, but then they praise you for everything that's right with it.
Exactly.
Now it's sort of like, well, we really like this, but they don't want to like really double down on it because it may be something people don't like. So, like, let's say a journalist loves the diversity in a game, he may go, well, I'm not going to say that much because I don't want to come across as being pandering, and also some people yell when you talk about that. So I just see a lot of the passion drain out of game journalism, and they're really just trying to go for what kind of review can I write that generates the most clicks. And I guess this worries me because if I see this everywhere, if I see this in publishers and developers and now new people entering the industry, they don't have this passion anymore. So, you know, what's the moral of all this? I want to tell people, just go and make it. Make what you want. You don't need a committee to sign off on it.
You don't.
You can always go back and change it. Or if you
it.
make something and it turns out not to be good at all and unsalvageable, throw it away. But that rapid iteration to get to some really good idea is a lot better than just being so cautious that you basically creep up to a very mundane game that doesn't show any kind of passion in its development. People can tell.
Yes, people can tell.
So I started with stories. Let me end with those 3 stories and how they kind of got resolved. So I didn't even try to do the whiteboard solution when I made Outer Worlds. What I did is I made my own Confluence page called, like, I was Tim Kane's top 10 or something. It was in my Confluence space, and I wrote, here are the 10 biggest things I want looked at this week. And there were a few producers who would look at that page all the time. What was great about this solution? Nobody could come and complain to me about it because it was in my Confluence space. My own personal but public Confluence space. Also, I'd like to point out that anybody could go to Jira at any time and say, what are the 10 most highly prioritized bugs and who are they assigned to? So we already had that whiteboard virtually, but somehow it was okay that it wasn't
because nobody wants
called
to
attention to.
Have their name put on it.
For the combat aggression code, I think I settled on 2 weeks, and I think it got done faster than that. Great, I got it. I don't think I asked for anything after that. I didn't go and specifically ask for anything because I realized that I was being viewed as some sort of ogre when I knew something could be done faster, and there was no solution to it, which is why years ago I started thinking, ooh, this has become...
Once again, it could be from the generation that I grew up in, or maybe the way that my parents raised me. But if somebody came to me and said, hey, look, I know you can do this better, or hey, look, I know you can do this faster, or hey, look, I know you can do X thing X ways. That's not them coming at me and telling me I'm not doing a good job. A lot of people will view that as them being told I'm not doing a good job, but a good manager is going to see that you're able to perform at a higher level, and they're going to push you to that higher level, not because they want more money out of you or because they're going to get a profit off of you or anything like that. Because as I said earlier, a good manager is going to push you to that level so that you can be the next manager in training, or the next supervisor in training, or, you know, move up the ladder. You should be taking your employees and pushing them up, not keeping them down. And I think a lot of people today, first off, there's not always good managers everywhere. And secondly, there's not good employees everywhere. But a lot of people view that as when a manager or a team lead or a supervisor comes up to you and says, hey, I know you can do this a little bit better. Can you next time do this a little bit better? And they view that as, the employee views that as, you know, they're being dumped on, or they're being shit on. Welcome, Allergic. This is Timothy Kane, the creator of Fallout 1 and 2, and he was talking about cautious game development. We're almost to the end of it, but he was just talking about how people don't want things assigned to them. They don't want to be pushed to do it better and faster. They don't, game journalists don't want to give negative reviews on games because they're afraid that they'll lose the reviewer codes or early access to the games to review, and just how the industry has become sort of creatively stagnant because of profits and not wanting to take risks, which I think he's done. I like what he said here.
Becoming a problem. Same thing with Leonard and I yelling at each other. We just kept doing it. We're like, it's our office. We're shut the door. We're not mad at each other, but this is the way we get things done. Noted that some people don't like it. We won't get things done like that with you. And let me tell you, I think there were people who felt like they missed out on not being parts of those conversations. Mm-hmm. Some people would come over. Charlie had his office right next door, and he would the lead designer on Outer Worlds, and he would come in sometimes and join in. Great. Other people didn't do that. You missed out. And I think you missed out on some really fun, active,
times make hard men make easy times. Easy times make soft men. Yes, that's so true. But that's
the way things are going.
It's very true, Vish.
I'm not sure I have a great solution other than reminding people to be passionate.
You got to put on your baby gloves these days.
Because it kind of ties into bigger teams and longer development time and bigger budgets. Just this whole game development caution that's rising up.
CIG, hire this man.
So there, got that off my chest.
CIG, hire this man. Okay. We got to go back. We have got to go back. That was Timothy Kane and development caution.